Good to go?
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Hey, hello, I'm Alayna. I am the outreach intern for this summer, and last summer I was an animal care intern, so getting all faces of Big Cat Rescue. So my presentation is going to be on the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, as you guys all learned in your email. So the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries was founded in 2007 because leaders in animal protection realized that identifying true sanctuaries within the many sanctuaries all over the world, something like sanctuaries, was difficult. So there wasn't just a broad term or a broad way to identify what a sanctuary was. So they came together to do that. And it was created so that sanctuaries, true sanctuaries, like Big Cat Rescue, could be supported and recognized. So I'm not going to read all of these for you guys because you're very smart people and you can read. But the ones I have bolded I felt were the most important. So obviously 2007, when they were founded, that was extremely important. They accredited their first sanctuary in 2009. In 2011, they accredited their first sanctuary outside of the United States, so global. And in 2012, they accredited their 100th animal care facility. And I put 2012 in there because of Ohio. So, a little shout out to, I'm from Ohio. But, the Zanesville incident where the man let all of his animals loose and most of them were killed. So, Ohio became one of those states that included, or the state that included GFAS status into wildlife regulations. And in 2013, GFAS partnered with IFAW to host the Big Cat Sanctuary Workshop in North Carolina. And in 2017, founding members of the first, I was a founding member of the first Big Cat, Alliance of Big Cat Sanctuaries. Cute picture of dog. So their vision and mission statements. Their vision is a world in which sanctuaries provide lifetime humane care to all animals in need. Their mission is to continuously improve the quality of animal care for animals, requiring sanctuary by accrediting sanctuaries based on worldwide standards of excellence, facilitating operational and financial support, and enhancing effectiveness, recognition, and collaboration. So since I mentioned before in the first or the second slide that they were having difficulty defining what a true sanctuary was, of course they made their own definition of what it is. So their definition is a sanctuary is any facility providing temporary or permanent safe haven to animals in need while meeting the principles of a true sanctuary, providing excellent care and humane care for their animals in a non-exploitative environment, and having ethical policies in place regarding, like we have here, tours, trade, exhibition, acquisition and disposition, breeding, and more. And once we get into the presentation later on, I will explain what that more is. So who can be accredited? Sanctuaries. Comes no surprise. And sanctuaries provide lifelong care to animals that need it. Rescue centers. Rescue centers provide temporary care while looking for places to permanently house these animals. And rehab centers. So the rehab centers provide temporary care as well, and they prepare them to be released back into their natural environment. And facilities that only keep dogs and cats cannot be accredited, unfortunately. So they have two different kind of statuses, I guess, that a facility can go after. One is verification, and the other one is accreditation, like we have. So a verified facility must have humane and responsible care, and that has to be confirmed by an inspector that comes on from GFAS to go on site to look at all that, like one came here. They must meet the definition of a true sanctuary, rehab, or rescue center. And they have to have federal nonprofit statuses and all of the required licenses and permits. And it does not buy, sell, trade, breed, or touch their cats, or not cats, I'm used to saying that, animals, but there are exemptions to that rule, so I will get into that further, but I will say that a lot of these facilities that are verified or accredited are horse facilities. So obviously, people can touch the horses, and they might be selling them to people as well. So accredited sanctuaries, like us, they must meet all the same criteria for a verified facility. In addition to that, they must meet all the GFAS standards in each of the following areas: governance, finance, education, and outreach, staffing and safety policies, protocols and training. Oh, and then, yes, those are all it. So, I guess as interns, sometimes we can think, oh, why do we have to go through all of this? But, all the training, but we have to. Okay, so who can be accredited or verified? So if you want to do all of this, you have, I recommend going on their website, but they have a certain list of criteria that people have to meet. So there's no captive breeding, and once again, there are certain exemptions for that. So if a facility has a actual rehab and release program, or an actual just captive breeding program where they are planning to release animals back into the wild, like for example, there was one with wolves, and they were releasing some wolves back out into the wild. So that's allowed. No commercial trade in animals or animal parts. That is standstill, nothing can be changed about that. There are no exemptions for that. No tours that are not guided. Animals are not exhibited or taken from the sanctuary or their enclosures for non-medical reasons. Once again, there are exemptions like the horses, or there's some for birds or reptiles. And the public does not have direct contact. Obviously with animals like wild animals, like our tigers, obviously we can't do that. But once again, with the horses and domesticated animals, that is allowed. So they must also demonstrate an adherence to the standards of animal care, ethical practices in fundraising, ethical acquisition and disposition of animals, restrictions on research, and a contingency plan. So we have a contingency plan. All of our cats have a fund set up for them so that if anything were to happen, they could have lifelong care. And we own our property, and God forbid, something happened to Carol, there are people in place that would be able to take care of the cats immediately in her place. So they have standards of excellence. And these standards were initially made for people all across the animal care world, and they used the standards that were already set from Taos, and I'll go into what that is a little bit later, but they made them stricter. And so here are some of the standards of excellence. So each standard is specific for each species of animals. Let you read some of that. Okay, so the fun part, how do you apply? It wants to load. Okay, step 1, organization overview form. This is the fun part, guys, I'm telling you. So this part really just helps GFAS learn more about your sanctuary, your organization, like what you guys are trying to do. The people that review everything in GFAS will go over everything, and if they need to, they will contact you for any other information. And then once you go over everything, you will have to pay the application fee. Step 2. In step 2, they just gather more details about the organization. So like how many animals you have, and the species-specific application package that complements the standards of care that they have all set. Documents that support animal care, safety, operations, and governance. And then step 3 is the review period, and then they will send an inspector to come visit your facility. So they'll review it, and on-site visit will be arranged. Step 4, goal setting. So they make all the organizations and sanctuaries that want to become accredited or verified set different goals for themselves. So a summary will be presented, and then you guys together with, we'll say Carol and somebody from GFAS, they will set 3-year goals for themselves. And then you're accredited, congratulations. Your organization will receive a letter, and then GFAS will publish information about you guys, and you will have access to all the benefits of the sanctuaries that are accredited and or verified. So your accreditation lasts for 3 years. So when I was talking to Carol about all this process, she told me that there are facilities, or not facilities, accrediting bodies that once you become accredited, they don't check in on you any longer. You're kind of just done. So that is not how GFAS does things. They check in on you every 3 years, and the application process kind of restarts itself. And then you'll pay an annual fee of between $100 and $500, and that is just depending on how much money you guys have coming in annually. And then you obviously must maintain the GFAS standards of excellence and then inform them of any major changes. So why would someone want to become accredited? So it gives the sanctuaries confidence that they are providing the best care possible to these captive animals. And then clear, measurable outcomes comes out of this. So I can't give an example of that, but say we didn't have cage standards up to, par. So saying that the cage needed to be 8 feet high is a goal that we can meet. So clear, measurable outcomes. And people always get the question in the gift shop, how do we know what people are good people and bad people? So this is just another way to show that we are worthy of public support and donations, and that people can feel good about coming here and donating and everything. So like I said, I interviewed Carol. Gotta give Priya a shout out, Best tiger. So when we first started, when Carol first started, she tried to become accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, but they kept blowing her off. And so when she asked, it's because they told her that, they accredit zoos. She's obviously not a zoo, and she's not really in favor of zoos, so they kept blowing her off. And so then we became accredited by TAUS, the Association of Sanctuaries. So TAUS ran for a while, and Carol was on the board for making standards for the big cats. Then TAUS kind of went under, and Carol took it over for a little while, but then GFAS came along. And so then we became accredited by GFAS. And when GFAS came along, Carol was contacted because she had helped write the standards for the big cats. So they took her input into account. Then there's her, will help create standards. So here are different animal care sanctuaries, GFAS accredited sanctuaries. So the Tennessee Elephant Sanctuary. So this girl right here is Nosy. Have you guys ever heard about Nosy's Law? Okay, so Okay, good, a few people. So she was an elephant from Florida, and she was carted around in a traveling circus. She was taken from Africa when she was a young calf, and so for the that part of her life, she was just carted around, performing for over 30 years. So she became ill and had different health issues, and they were still carting her around and showing her. So when they were traveling to Alabama, the truck was stopped for some reason, and then they were able to seize her then, and she's now at the Tennessee Elephant Sanctuary. And Nosy's Law, as some of you know, first started in New Jersey to prohibit the use of elephants in traveling circuses, and then it expanded to prohibit the use of all wild and exotic animals in the traveling circus. Wolf Haven. So their mission is to conserve and protect wolves in their natural habitat. I don't know who this wolf was. I tried figuring it out. But yeah, it was a great picture, and he or she's a very handsome and pretty wolf.
What state was that one in?
Washington. Mm-hmm. Mountain Valley Horse Rescue. This is Cheka. She is, I think I'm saying that right, forgive me if I'm not. She was a Mustang that came with 3 other horses. They didn't give me much about their story, but she came with 3 others and a foal, and they're all doing well now. And then tips. So I myself am guilty of the first one. During my tours, my great beginning speech is, hello, we are a GFAS accredited sanctuary. What that means is we don't buy, sell, trade, breed, or touch any of our cats. With my guests saying, what the heck is GFAS? So explain what it is. You don't have to obviously go in detail, but you can just say Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. And then explain how to be a big cat-friendly tourist. And we already have those little cards made, so you can just hand them that card and go in detail of that if you want. Human references. Always cite your sources. Sorry, I realized I just went through that really quickly. I'm so sorry.
15 minutes, that's a record.
I know. Oh, yeah, I mean, I can go over anything in more detail if anybody needs me to. Yes.
Why would some facilities not want to be accredited?
That's a great question, Jen.
Can you answer it for her? No.
I can.
So there is no reason, thank you, Carol, that any legitimate sanctuary should not want to be accredited. There's likely something going on in the background that they do not, that would not fall under any accrediting body. They wouldn't agree to it. So any legitimate sanctuary is not going to not want to be accredited. Did I answer? Okay.
Karen wants to know if you are Jen's intern.
Is it Karen Ryder?
Karen Nash.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Oh, yes, I'm Jen's intern. I'm her outreach intern this summer.
And we love Karen.
We do love Karen, yes. She came on a tour. Great lady. Yes.
How many GFAS accredited sanctuaries are there? I've had guests ask me that.
Oh, that's a great question that honestly I don't have the answer to.
In 2012, you said there were 100.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more
Over
since
100,
then.
yeah. And a lot of them, yeah.
I was paying attention.
Yeah. And a lot of them are, I learned this a while ago when I was looking to get something for somebody. A lot of them are equine facilities, and I was actually surprised about that because I wouldn't think that.
There was actually a monetary grant for getting equine sanctuaries up to standards, and so that's why so many of them were brought in.
Oh.
Jay wants to know if you are doing this internship for your college prep.
I am not doing this for college. So, like I said, I was an animal care intern last summer, and that covered my college credit. But, you know, I didn't want to sit home and do nothing all summer, and I would like to get a job, and I would like to become, like, more educated in all of the, I guess, details that go into big cats and big cat issues. I learned animal husbandry last summer, but I wanted to learn the other side of it, what goes on behind closed doors. So, I mean, when I asked Jen about this before I applied, and I wanted to learn more about the legislation and what more I can really do in the background if I would choose to do that route instead of animal husbandry. Howard?
Well, in the never say never category, while it is largely true that sanctuaries, people who call themselves sanctuaries that don't seek accreditation may have some reason that makes them not a good place, there are a couple of places that we would consider good who simply have chosen for one reason or another not to seek accreditation. So I just want to qualify that.
Thank you.
And my question is,
yes,
why didn't
Kelly and I disagree on this one.
I did get my answer from Carol.
Get used to that. They disagree a lot.
It's just another case where she's wrong.
Howard just got fired.
Why didn't Taos?
I mean, Howard doesn't even have a name.
Why didn't Taos? So Taos, he asked, why didn't Taos continue? So Taos was running on grant money, if I'm not mistaken, and that money ran out.
That's right.
Jay wants to know if that's Howard making those comments in the back.
Now, what's different about the structure, the governance structure of the Global Federation of Sanctuaries from Taos?
So I believe the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries has stricter criteria and requirements that has to be met.
The governance of the organization, like the boards.
Who runs it?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer. Sorry.
Then I'll answer.
Okay.
The answer you wanted.
Ask a question that you don't already know the answer to, so
Yeah.
you can make sure it's getting answered properly.
Don't look at me.
Taos was an organization formed by sanctuaries, and sanctuaries were composed of the board for the most part. GFAS was formed by with some of the large animal welfare organizations like Born Free and HSUS. And so it has a board that is a really impressive board, partly made up of people from those organizations
and partly of some very prominent people from, independently from the animal welfare community, and it also has some regular funding from those organizations.
Craig wants to know how you learned about Big Cat Rescue.
I find that might be my grandpa's. So, as many of you probably have the same experience, I knew I wanted to work with animals since I was a young kid, and I was way into Animal Planet, and and so on Animal Planet, I watched a show about what is it called, Dream World, Tigerland. I learned now that these people are bad people. They allow cub petting. They breed their cats. They breed for white tiger. Not a good facility. But I was a kid. I didn't know that. And so that is what got me into wanting to work with tigers specifically. And once I make my mind up, I don't generally change it. So then, once I was in probably junior high, I started looking at actual sanctuaries. Now, while I might have not realized the true definition of a sanctuary, I did come across Big Cat Rescue, and I read all about the internship, the animal care internship, and decided that's what I wanted to do. Obviously, I couldn't do it until I turned 18, so I decided to do it between my sophomore and junior year of school, and October, 2 years ago, I emailed Chelsea with all my stuff to come to Big Cat Rescue.
Yay.
Yes.
I have kind of a dual question. So the first question is what other countries are part of the GFAS accredited family? So I know there are lots of sanctuaries in the US, but what other countries are the other sanctuaries from? And then I think the second part, do they collaborate? Is there collaboration? Like you said, there are many horse facilities. There are obviously big cat facilities. Is one of the benefits also collaboration with others?
So when I was looking for different sanctuaries to include in this, instead of just talking about Big Cat Rescue, there's a cool map that they have online on GFAS website, and it. Yeah. Okay.
No, we got computer. We're not gonna do that. We had to break the computers.
Okay. So there's a really cool map when you guys do this at home, and it shows you the approximate location of where all these different sanctuaries are. So obviously there are tons in the United States. There's some in Africa, India, all throughout Asia, some on different islands. It's really all over the world. Some of them I think the ones in Africa dealt a lot with primates. And so the second part of your question, collaboration, yes. So that was one of the things they talked about on their website. That's another perk of being accredited by them, is collaboration with different sanctuaries throughout the entire world.
Oh, and now I have another.
Yeah.
This is actually not even
You're being cut off after this.
It's not even a selfish question.
keep
It's a
asking
question
questions,
for
but
people. Do they have an area GFAS? Because I'm assuming now this would be a really cool place to have that. Does GFAS have an area where people can find jobs or internships or volunteer opportunities?
Yes. Do you mean with different sanctuaries?
Yes.
Yes. So on that same map, when you click on a different, say Big Cat Rescue, it will tell you whether they offer, jobs, internships, different information, just short information, but different information about what those different sanctuaries offer to the public.
There's also an actual link on the GFAS site where I have your internship posted, and a lot of organizations post job announcements on there.
Yep.
So, does GFAS or other sanctuaries, do they have a whoa?
Hello, world.
Do they have a physical headquarters where if people wanted to actually go in and talk to somebody about GFAS, they could go, or is it all online?
So they have an actual headquarters, but online I can say I didn't seriously look for an address, but there wasn't an address anywhere where contact us or anything. So I'm sure they do. They send out inspectors, but I don't think that it would be easy to find. But
I think
could
they
be
mostly
wrong.
work remotely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, just a little something for the next time you give this presentation. About 5 years ago, GFAS asked us to hold, I can't remember if it was it 1 or 2 days, Carol, that we I think it was like a 2-day seminar that we
Well,
held
it was
here.
at least, I think it was like several days.
Yeah, I think it was multiple.
At least it was 2 days anyway. Going over
Hallie came 2 days.
going over how we do things, both our animal care protocols, our governance, our finance, our help to our volunteer program, to share that with the other sanctuaries. And we were later told by the then executive director that one sanctuary who came here where the couple running it were really depressed, and they were just very down and struggling, and they left here all excited and ended up remarkably turning around their sanctuary using the things that they learned here. So just thought that might have been an interesting fact for you to know for the future.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How many other big cat facilities are accredited in the state of Florida?
We are the only accredited big cat sanctuary in the state of Florida.
That's interesting.
Which is a good thing to mention when people are like, so what do you think of this place? So like we get that all the time, and so I'm like, we are the only accredited sanctuary in the state of Florida for big cats. I think that speaks for itself. People still might dig, but I would just repeat that. Like when people ask if a cat has escaped, we've never had a cat escape off property.
And there's only a handful of accredited sanctuaries across the entire globe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how many. You probably know.
No, I don't. So when I went to the map for the United States, I kid you not, it was all bundled up. So there are so many accredited sanctuaries within the United States that it's bundled up. You can zoom in, obviously, and it gets better, but there's a ton. Yeah.
It's 73 accredited, and if you include verified, it's over 150.
Total, not cat places.
Not cat places, just total.
I want to say there's less than a dozen cat
There's
places in the
definitely
U.S.
You're right. Well, even globally, I think.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't. My brain doesn't go that far.
I've got a question.
Yeah, Barb.
Hi.
Hi, Barb.
Great presentation, but my question is, you've done a lot of research, and there were a couple things I went, wow, I didn't know. What were you the most surprised at that you didn't know before you embarked on this?
Good question. That is a great question. So I, even when I was looking in the past for different sanctuaries, I guess I didn't realize how many of those weren't like wild animal sanctuaries. I never would have guessed that facilities other than places like Big Cat Rescue and other wild animal facilities would want to become accredited. And even after seeing that, it's still like it was mind blowing that there are places like horses are like the most I won't say popular to be accredited, but it's a lot of them. That was mind blowing to me. That was what was most surprising.
Jay says there are 11 cat GFAS sanctuaries.
Thank you, Jay.
That is less than a dozen.
Such a math whiz.
Yeah, Maya.
So earlier you said like some of the back to the camera. Earlier you said some of the horse places allow the horses to sell the horses, and of course they're going to touch them. So are there like strict regulations on when they can sell a horse, or?
So they didn't go into the the strict regulations. I'm assuming that once these facilities fall under the GFAS standards, because even places that are only just maybe selling a dog or cat, like a lot of places will have standards for themselves. So once again, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that once you fall under the GFAS standards, these places will have standards of their own. Say like you have to have fenced-in yard or this much money or something like that.
A lot of times those are adoption fees.
Yeah. But I don't think they're just giving it to any old person that comes off the street and wants a horse.
Craig wants to know if this research will help you become, or help you locate a position after you graduate.
I hope. Is it Craig Ryder? Is that who it is? It's probably him. So, no, but honestly,
Craig Ryder.
Yeah, it's my grandpa. So he's hoping the answer is yes. No, but not even just this presentation, but I feel like everything that I'm doing as a legislative intern at the moment, or outreach intern, sorry, it's what it was called before, is actually helping me because, you know, I learned all about not all about, I'm sure Gail could teach me tons of stuff about animal husbandry, but I did the animal side part, I'm saying that right, but hopefully with everything I'm learning, I can get a job after I graduate. But this presentation, yeah, learning all about the GFAS sure did help me. Hopefully will help me.
Well, we have had interns that are with the World Wildlife Fund, with Humane Society of the United States. We have had interns that have been here that have moved on to the bigger animal entities, IFAW, all, you know, so there are places to go in other animal organizations.
That's what he likes to hear. He doesn't want to pay for me forever.
We just made a bunch of new friends here on Facebook. Now that they know who he is, they're all like, hi!
He makes friends everywhere he goes.
Any other questions for Alayna?
Jay wants to know how the Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance is different from the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries.
I did not go much into
Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance.
Yeah, the Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance. I mean, I did interview you about that a little bit, but that was the extent of how much I went into the...
Oh, no.
Since you are the liaison.
Well, so the alliance is obviously an alliance of big cat organizations, and in addition to making sure that these sanctuaries are meeting the standards of GFAS, they're working on advocacy, on outreach, so they're going beyond just the animal care, and they're doing a lot of the stuff that Big Cat Rescue's already been doing for quite some time. So I serve on the advocacy committee for Big Cat, but they have different committees that focus on reaching the community more and making sure that sanctuaries that are GFAS accredited and have big cats are also out there talking about the issues and advocating on behalf of the cats.
And they have some people there that are not accredited, and I'm hoping that by being with a lot of the accredited facilities that they will seek accreditation.
Yes, agreed.
Thanks, Jen.
So you admit there are places.
I think there are places that are better than others that are not accredited, but I do not believe that there is any excuse for not being accredited.
Okay. It speaks for itself.
You're doomed, Carol. Either way you go, you're doomed.
Any other questions?
Is Mustang a breed?
So Jen and I had this discussion too. I
guys talk a lot in there.
I bet you hear it too. We can talk to people, but it depends on how the term is used. So Mustang is generally like a wild horse, but sometimes people think that when you take them out of the wild, that they're no longer Mustangs, or it can be a breed. So my grandma and I go to the equine fair every year, and there are people who are riding Mustangs. So obviously those horses were taken out of the wild, but they still call them a Mustang. It just depends on who's using the term and how they think it is supposed to be used.
Anybody else?
Question about
Yeah.
the horses.
Yeah.
They're going to slaughter. Oh, I gotta hide. What are they doing about rescuing them? Do they rescue them? Do they get involved with rescuing them from slaughter?
The actual horse facility that I looked at.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know who and what goes into rescuing from slaughter. I would assume that these people are taking cases for the horses how we are taking cases for our cats. Because obviously there are only so many animals they can care for at a time. But there are places and organizations that go out specifically to rescue slaughtered horses.
Anybody else?
Any other horse questions?
Can you look a horse in the